My mom is ill. Maid's daughter entered the mogul's office. His response stunned the floor. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. It was a quiet morning when a young girl, no older than 12, made her way through the grand glass doors of a towering office building. The polished marble floors gleamed beneath her worn sneakers. Her clothes were simple, too simple for this place, but the determination in her eyes was undeniable. Her name was Lily, and she wasn't here to ask for a favor. She wasn't here to beg or plead. She was here to do something far more important. Her mother was sick, very sick. She had been the housekeeper at one of the most powerful Mogul's estate for years, but when she fell ill, no one seemed to care. Not her boss, not his family. No one. Lily, however, was different. She wasn't going to let the same fate befall her mother. She had heard rumors. She had gathered information, and now, with courage that didn't seem possible for someone her age, she was stepping into the lion's den. The towering mogul she was about to face was known for his ruthless business tactics and his cold indifference to the struggles of those beneath him. He was a billionaire, a man whose wealth and power stretched far beyond the average person's imagination. But Lily wasn't like anyone he'd ever met. She had learned, in her short life, to understand the value of people, the real worth of kindness, and most importantly, the power of standing up for what was right. As she stepped into the elevator, the cool, metallic walls seemed to close in around her. The elevator moved slowly, rising higher and higher, the floors ticking by with a mechanical precision. She could feel the weight of what she was about to do pressing on her chest, but she didn't stop. She couldn't. The doors opened on the top floor, and she stepped out, into a world that felt nothing like the one she knew. The hallway was lined with rare art pieces, the kind you only saw in magazines or movies. The air smelled like expensive cologne and polished wood. This was the domain of power, wealth, and influence. But Lily wasn't intimidated. She had seen this kind of opulence before. She had cleaned these very floors, dusted the precious sculptures, and served meals to this family. She knew how to remain invisible, how to move through these halls unnoticed. But today was different. Today, she was not just a maid's daughter. She was someone who would change everything. Lily approached the massive wooden door at the end of the hall. She knocked lightly, her small hand trembling. After a long pause, a deep voice from inside called out, "Come in." She pushed the door open and stepped inside. The mogul, a man in his early 50s with sharp features and an air of superiority, looked up from his desk. He was surrounded by the trappings of wealth. Expensive leather chairs, a massive desk made of dark mahogany, and bookshelves filled with leather-bound volumes. He raised an eyebrow as he took in her appearance, clearly unimpressed. "What is this? A joke?" he asked coldly, his voice dripping with disdain. Lily stood her ground, her back straight. "My mom is ill," she said, her voice steady but carrying the weight of everything she had been holding back. "She's been working for you for years. She's been loyal, but now that she needs help, no one cares. I'm here to ask you to help her. She deserves that much." The mogul's expression didn't change. He scoffed, clearly not taking her seriously. "And why should I help her? You're just a maid's daughter. What makes you think you deserve anything from me?" But Lily wasn't done. She had come prepared. She had the knowledge, the information, and the determination to make him see the truth. As she spoke, her words began to sink in, the weight of her request settling in the room. By the time she finished speaking, the mogul's earlier arrogance had been replaced with confusion. He sat back in his chair, stunned. His response to Lily's words would change the course of everything, not just for her, but for the mogul himself. As the mogul stared at Lily, his expression slowly shifted from one of cold disbelief to something more unsettling. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled together, a slight frown on his face. The room, once filled with the hum of luxury and wealth, now felt charged with an uncomfortable silence. Lily, standing there in the middle of his pristine office, refused to look away. She wasn't going to back down. Not now. She had come too far. "You think your mother deserves help, just like that?" the mogul finally asked, his tone sharp but tinged with a curiosity he hadn't expected. Lily nodded firmly, her small frame still standing tall despite the weight of the room's oppressive atmosphere. Yes, she said, her voice steady. She worked hard for you. She always did her best, and now, she's the one who needs help. And you're the one who can give it. The mogul leaned forward slightly, the first sign of genuine interest flickering in his eyes. You're asking me to help a maid, a woman who cleans my house, when I have people with more education, more power, more influence than anyone you know, he said, his voice growing colder again. What makes her so special? Lily felt a surge of frustration but held it in check. She had expected this reaction. She had prepared herself for the harshness, for the dismissive attitude that came with wealth and power. But she had one card left to play. She's special because she's human, Lily replied, her words cutting through the tension like a knife. The mogul blinked, clearly taken aback. What do you mean by that? He asked, genuinely puzzled. Lily took a deep breath, looking at the towering figure before her. You live in a world where power and money are everything. But you forget something important. My mother taught me that kindness, loyalty, and love are worth more than all the wealth in the world. You have people who work for you, but do you even know their names? Do you know what they go through when the cameras are off, when the lights are dimmed? My mom isn't just a maid. She's a person, and she's more valuable than you think. For a moment, the mogul's sharp features softened, just for a fraction of a second. But it was enough. He glanced away, as if trying to shake off the weight of her words. The room was silent again. But this time, the silence felt different. It wasn't the suffocating quiet of arrogance and indifference. It was the quiet of someone who was starting to reconsider their own beliefs. And what exactly do you want from me? He asked after a long pause, his voice now lacking the earlier condescension. Lily knew this was her moment. This was the crack she had been waiting for. I want you to help her, she said simply. She needs medical treatment. She doesn't have the money for it. You do. The mogul shifted in his chair, his expression unreadable. The seconds dragged on, the weight of the decision hanging in the air like a thick fog. Lily's heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't look away. She had said everything she needed to say. The power now lay in his hands. And then, just as Lily was beginning to think he wouldn't budge, the mogul stood up. He paced the length of the room, deep in thought. Lily waited, every nerve on edge. Finally, he turned to her, his gaze serious. I'll do it, he said quietly. I'll make sure she gets the help she needs. Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her, but she didn't allow herself to show it. This was just the beginning. The mogul had made his decision, but Lily knew that this moment would change both their lives forever. As she turned to leave, the mogul's voice stopped her. You've got guts, kid, he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. Lily paused, but she didn't turn around. I've got something more important than guts, she said softly. I've got a purpose. With that, she walked out of the office, leaving the mogul standing there, stunned by the courage of a maid's daughter. As Lily walked out of the mogul's office, her heart was pounding with a mixture of relief and disbelief. She had done it. She had stood up to one of the most powerful men in the city and made him listen. But she knew this wasn't over yet. Her mother still needed help, and there was still much to be done. The next day, Lily received a call from the mogul's office. It was a personal assistant, speaking in a tone that was both professional and warm. Miss Lily, the assistant began. The mogul has arranged for your mother's medical treatment. We've scheduled an appointment with the best specialists in town. You can take her to the clinic tomorrow. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She had expected something, but this was beyond anything she had hoped for. The mogul, the man who had once brushed her off as nothing more than a maid's daughter, had actually followed through. He was giving her mother the chance she needed. The following day, Lily brought her mother to the clinic. She watched as the doctors ran tests, consulted with each other, and finally gave them the good news. Your mother is in better health than we expected, the lead doctor said. She'll need some rest, but with the right care, she'll make a full recovery. Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it wasn't just the news of her mother's recovery. It was the realization that her actions had sparked something in the mogul, something deep inside him that had made him choose to help. For the first time in a long while, Lily felt like she had made a difference. As they left the clinic, her mother's hand in hers, Lily thought about the mogul. She knew that he wasn't a perfect man, but he had done something few people in his position would have done. He had listened to her, and he had acted. She would never forget that. A few weeks later, Lily received another call from the Mogul's office. This time, it was the Mogul himself on the line. "Lily," he said, his voice much softer than it had been the first time they spoke. "I wanted to thank you. You've taught me something valuable. My whole life, I've been focused on wealth and power. But you reminded me that there's more to life than that." Lily was silent for a moment, not sure how to respond. She had expected the Mogul to thank her, but this felt different. It felt genuine. "I want to make things right," he continued. "I've arranged for your mother to have a full-time position in my company. I want to offer her a salary and benefits, a real job. She deserves that, and I think she's earned it." Lily was speechless. She had never expected this. The Mogul, who had once seen her and her mother as nothing more than workers, was now offering them an opportunity. "Thank you," Lily finally managed to say, her voice filled with emotion. "You don't have to do this, but I can't tell you how much this means to me. I want to make things right," he repeated. "You've taught me that sometimes the things we overlook are the most important. Family, loyalty, kindness. These things matter more than I ever realized." The conversation ended, and Lily stood there, staring at the phone in her hand. She could hardly believe what had just happened. The Mogul had changed. He had gone from being a distant, uncaring figure to someone who recognized the value of the people around him. Lily knew this was just the beginning. Her mother was going to be okay, and now they had a chance at a better life. But most importantly, Lily had learned that sometimes one small act of courage could change everything. She had made a difference, not just for her mother, but for the Mogul as well. It was a victory she would never forget. Weeks passed, and Lily's life began to change in ways she could hardly have imagined. Her mother, now receiving the medical care she needed, was recovering quickly. With the full-time position at the Mogul's company, Lily's family was finally able to breathe a little easier. They were no longer living paycheck to paycheck, struggling just to make ends meet. But the most unexpected change had come from the Mogul himself. His office had sent word that he wanted to meet with her again, this time under different circumstances. Lily had heard through the grapevine that he had been making strides in reshaping his company's image. He was putting more emphasis on ethical business practices, and some said he was even donating large sums to charitable causes. It was a far cry from the man she had first encountered, the one who had looked down on her, dismissing her as just another worker. Lily was intrigued, though still cautious. She knew that change in people wasn't always permanent. When the day came for their meeting, Lily entered his office with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. She had no idea what to expect. The Mogul greeted her warmly, his usual stern demeanor softened. "Lily," he began, his voice lacking the cold edge it once held, "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation. You opened my eyes to things I had never considered before." Lily stayed silent, waiting for him to continue. "I've come to realize," he said, leaning forward, "that there's more to success than just profits and business deals. I've spent my life building wealth, but I've neglected the people who helped me get here." He paused, looking her directly in the eyes. "I want to change that. I want to be better, not just for myself, but for the people around me. And I'm starting with your family." Lily was taken aback. She hadn't expected such an admission. She had seen the Mogul as a man of immense pride, but here he was, acknowledging his shortcomings. "I know I can never undo the past," he continued, "but I want to offer you something more. I want to help you pursue your dreams, Lily. You've shown me what true courage looks like, and I think you deserve to have your own chance to succeed." Lily felt a lump form in her throat. She had never expected this. She had come to the Mogul's office to ask for help for her mother, but now he was offering her something entirely different, an opportunity to change her life. "I want to help you get an education," he said. "I've arranged for you to attend college, and I'll cover the costs. You've got potential, Lily. You deserve to have a future, just like anyone else." Lily didn't know how to respond. It felt like her world was shifting beneath her feet. A part of her wanted to refuse, to insist that she didn't need his charity. But the truth was, she did. She had always dreamed of going to college, of having a life that was more than cleaning floors and working in the background. But she had never thought it was possible. Now, here was this powerful man, offering her the chance of a lifetime. She took a deep breath, collecting her thoughts. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I don't know what to say. This means everything to me." The mogul smiled, his expression genuine. You don't need to say anything. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do. You've already shown me more than I ever expected. It's time for you to have the life you deserve. As Lily left his office that day, she felt a mix of emotions. She had come to this man seeking help for her mother, and now she was leaving with something far greater. She was leaving with the chance to build her own future, to break free from the life she had known. And she knew, no matter what happened next, that this moment would stay with her forever. The mogul had not only changed her life, he had changed his own. And together, they had proven that even the smallest act of courage could change everything. Lily's life had completely transformed since that day in the mogul's office. She had been accepted into a prestigious university, the tuition and fees completely covered. The mogul, once a symbol of power and arrogance, had become an unexpected mentor, helping her navigate a world she never thought she would be part of. Her mother, now fully recovered, was thriving in her new position, working for the mogul in a role that respected her talents and experience. It was a new beginning for them both. However, as Lily started her college journey, she realized that the path ahead was not without its challenges. Being the first in her family to attend college, she found herself struggling with the expectations and the pressure to succeed. The work was hard, and the social environment was unfamiliar, but she was determined not to let these obstacles stop her. The mogul's offer had changed her life, but it had also given her a new responsibility to prove that she deserved the opportunity she had been given. As the months passed, Lily found herself working late into the night, balancing her studies with the new relationships she was forming. She often thought of the mogul, wondering how he was doing and whether he realized just how much his actions had impacted her. One afternoon, as she was sitting in the campus library, she received another call from his office. This time, it wasn't a personal assistant, but the mogul himself. "Lily," he said, his voice steady but with a hint of concern. "I've been keeping an eye on your progress, and I have to say, I'm impressed. But I want to do more. You've earned the right to succeed, and I want to make sure you have everything you need." Lily was taken aback. She had never expected anything more from him. She had already been given so much. "What do you mean?" she asked. "I'm offering you an internship at my company," he said, his tone firm. "I know you've been working hard, and I think you could bring something unique to the table. It's time to take the next step in your journey." The offer was overwhelming. An internship at his company would be the perfect way to bridge her education with real-world experience. But it also came with its own set of challenges. She was still learning, still trying to find her footing. "Are you sure I'm ready?" she asked, her voice filled with uncertainty. "I wouldn't offer it to you if I didn't believe in you," he replied. "I know you've got what it takes, just like you showed me when you came into my office all those months ago. Now, it's time to show yourself." The conversation ended, and Lily sat there for a moment, processing everything. She had been given so many opportunities, so much support, but she knew that this would be the true test. She wasn't just a maid's daughter anymore. She was a college student, and in turn, a person with the chance to shape her own future. The pressure was immense, but she was no longer afraid of it. She had already faced her fears once, and she knew she could do it again. As she walked out of the library that day, a sense of clarity settled over her. She wasn't just taking a chance on the mogul's offer. She was taking a chance on herself. This was her moment to prove that everything she had worked for, everything she had overcome, had been worth it. Lily's first day at the mogul's company was nothing like she had imagined. The grand offices, the sleek glass walls, and the hum of high-powered executives made her feel small in a way she hadn't anticipated. She had spent her life in modest surroundings, doing the work that no one else wanted to do, but here, she was expected to be more. As she walked through the pristine hallways, the weight of the opportunity she had been given began to settle in. She had worked so hard to get here, but now the real test had begun. Her internship was at the company's headquarters, a place filled with some of the brightest minds in the industry. The mogul had made it clear that this was an opportunity for her to prove herself, but the pressure was overwhelming. She had always been the one who stayed in the background, unnoticed and unappreciated. Now, she was expected to shine. Her first task was simple enough, at least on paper: help organize a meeting for one of the mogul's top executives. But what seemed like a minor task quickly turned into a logistical nightmare. The executives were demanding, the technology wasn't cooperating, and the hours were long. Lily found herself staying late, working through the night to ensure that everything was in place. As the days passed, she began to feel the weight of her responsibilities. She was juggling her studies, her internship, and her mother's ongoing recovery. There were moments when she doubted whether she could keep up with it all. But then, she remembered the mogul's words. "I'm offering this to you because I believe in you. You've already shown me what true courage looks like." She held on to that. She knew she couldn't afford to back down now. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day, Lily was sitting at her desk, feeling defeated. She stared at the piles of paperwork in front of her, her mind racing with the thought that maybe she wasn't cut out for this. Just as she was about to give in to the exhaustion, a voice interrupted her thoughts. "Lily," it was the mogul. He had come to check in on her. He looked at the chaos in front of her, the scattered papers, the empty coffee cups, and the stressed expression on her face. "Are you all right?" he asked. Lily hesitated for a moment, unsure whether she should admit how overwhelmed she was. But then, she realized that this was her chance to be honest. "I'm struggling," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can keep up with everything. I'm trying, but it feels like it's too much." The mogul didn't respond right away. He simply sat down across from her, his expression softening. "I've been there," he said after a moment. "When I was building this company, I thought I had to do everything on my own. I thought asking for help made me weak. But over the years, I learned that it's okay to ask for help, to lean on others when you need it." Lily looked up at him, surprised by the vulnerability in his words. The mogul, the man who had built an empire, was admitting that he didn't have all the answers. It made her feel a little less alone. "You don't have to do everything by yourself," he continued. "You've got a team here. Lean on them when you need to. You've already proven that you can handle a lot more than most people would ever expect. Don't be afraid to ask for help." Lily took a deep breath, feeling the tension begin to ease. For the first time in days, she felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. The mogul's encouragement gave her the strength she needed to keep going. The next day, Lily approached her team with a new perspective. She delegated tasks, asked for help when she needed it, and, most importantly, allowed herself to believe that she didn't have to do everything alone. Slowly but surely, things started to fall into place. Her work improved, her confidence grew, and, most importantly, she realized that she had the support she needed to succeed. That night, as she walked out of the office, Lily felt a sense of pride she had never known before. She wasn't just a maid's daughter anymore. She was a professional, a student, and someone who had earned the right to stand tall in this world. She knew that there would be challenges ahead, but for the first time, she felt ready to face them. She had learned that success wasn't just about working hard. It was about knowing when to ask for help, when to lean on others, and, most importantly, when to believe in yourself. Lily's progress at the company seemed to snowball, and as the weeks passed, her confidence grew. She was no longer the quiet, invisible maid's daughter. She was now an intern working side by side with some of the brightest minds in the business world. The mogul's faith in her, his guidance, and his unexpected mentorship had propelled her forward, and with every new challenge she faced, Lily proved herself capable. She had become more than just an intern. She had become an integral part of the team. However, just when things were going smoothly, a new challenge emerged, one that Lily hadn't anticipated. The mogul, who had been nothing short of supportive, was facing a crisis. His company, once at the peak of success, was beginning to show signs of financial trouble. Deals that had once been solid were now falling through, and investors were starting to lose confidence. It was a tense time, and the mogul, known for his ironclad composure, was visibly stressed. Lily saw him less and less. He was buried in meetings, constantly on the phone with lawyers and financial advisors. She knew he was struggling, but she had no idea just how serious things had become. One late afternoon, she was working in the office when the mogul walked in, looking more exhausted than she had ever seen him. His usually sharp features were clouded with worry, and there was a weight to his steps that betrayed his usual self-assuredness. Without thinking, Lily stood up from her desk and approached him. "Is everything all right?" she asked softly, not wanting to intrude, but unable to ignore the concern that had been building in her chest. The mogul turned toward her, his expression softening for just a moment. "We're in trouble, Lily," he said quietly, his voice strained. "I've been in business for decades, and I've never seen things like this. We're about to lose everything if we don't turn this around. Lily could feel the gravity of his words. She had always known the mogul as a figure of power, a man who could control any situation. But here, in this moment, he seemed like a man on the edge. Is there anything I can do? She asked, surprised by the words coming out of her own mouth. She had been so focused on her own role, on proving herself, that she had never considered stepping up in a bigger way. The mogul looked at her, his eyes searching, as if trying to find an answer. After a moment, he spoke, his voice low. I'm going to need some fresh ideas. Something different. I've been relying on the same strategies for too long, and now they're failing. I need someone who can think outside the box, someone who's not afraid to challenge the status quo. Lily felt a rush of adrenaline. This was her chance to show him everything she had learned, everything he had taught her. I think I might have an idea, she said, her voice steady with determination. It's a long shot, but it could work. We need to tap into a market we've been ignoring, smaller businesses that are just starting out. They need the kind of support we offer, but at a price they can afford. The mogul raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Go on, he said. We could create a new product line aimed at entrepreneurs, offering lower-priced services, but with the same quality we're known for, Lily continued. We could also provide workshops, online resources, and mentorship, something that gives them the tools to grow their businesses. If we can become known for supporting startups, it could change everything for us. The mogul was quiet for a moment, clearly weighing her words. Finally, he spoke, his voice filled with a newfound respect. I never would have thought of that, he admitted. You're right. We've been focusing so much on the high-end market that we've neglected the people who could use our help the most. He paused, his gaze thoughtful. Let's do it. I'll give you the green light to develop this idea further. Lily felt a surge of pride. The mogul, the man who had once seen her as nothing more than a maid's daughter, was now asking for her ideas, her input. It was a moment she would never forget. She had proved herself, not just as an intern, but as someone who could make a difference. The next few months would be a whirlwind. Lily worked tirelessly on the new project, helping to develop the product line, coordinating the workshops, and working directly with the team to get everything off the ground. It wasn't easy, but with each small success, she knew they were moving closer to turning the company around. And through it all, the mogul was by her side, offering advice, encouragement, and, most importantly, trust. He had come to see her as more than just an intern. She was his partner. And as they watched their new venture take off, Lily realized that this wasn't just about business. It was about a relationship that had been built on mutual respect, trust, and the shared belief that anything was possible if they worked together. Lily stood at the edge of the rooftop terrace, gazing out over the sprawling cityscape. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over the skyline. She felt a strange sense of peace, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of events that had led her to this moment. The new project was a success. The startup initiative that she had pitched to the mogul had exceeded everyone's expectations. Small businesses were signing up for their services, and the workshops were getting rave reviews. The mogul had been right there with her every step of the way, offering advice, encouragement, and guidance. It was a partnership she had never expected, but one that had turned into something far more meaningful than she had imagined. But even with all the success, Lily knew there was still so much more to prove. Her relationship with the mogul had shifted in ways she hadn't anticipated. He no longer saw her as just a maid's daughter, but as a legitimate business partner. He relied on her input, valued her opinion, and trusted her judgment. For Lily, that trust was everything. But it was also a heavy weight to bear. The more she succeeded, the more she feared disappointing him. She didn't want to be seen as just a lucky break, a fluke who had happened to be in the right place at the right time. She wanted to prove, not just to him, but to herself, that she belonged here. The pressure was immense. One evening, as she was wrapping up work in the office, the mogul walked in. His usual sharp expression was softened, and there was a faint smile on his lips. You've been working late again, he remarked, leaning against the doorframe. Lily looked up from her desk, trying to mask the exhaustion that was starting to show. Just finishing up some things, she replied, her voice a little tired but determined. The mogul pushed off from the doorframe and walked toward her. You've done more than just finish up things, Lily, he said, his tone filled with admiration. You've turned this company around. We're in a stronger position now than we've been in years, and that's because of you. Lily felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had never imagined receiving such praise from him. The mogul had always been a figure of authority, distant and unapproachable, but now, in this moment, he seemed like a mentor. I couldn't have done it without your support, she replied softly, her heart full of gratitude. You gave me the opportunity. You trusted me. The mogul nodded, a thoughtful look crossing his face. I trusted you because I saw something in you that I didn't see in myself. When I was your age, you're fearless, Lily. You go after what you want, and you don't let anything stand in your way. Lily smiled, but it was a bittersweet smile. I'm still learning, she said quietly. I'm not sure I'm ready for all of this. The mogul stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. No one is ever really ready for what life throws at them, he said. But you're doing it. You've already proven that you can handle anything. And I know you'll keep doing amazing things. Lily felt the weight of his words settle in her chest. It was a comfort, but also a reminder that the journey was far from over. She had come so far, but she still had so much to achieve. The mogul's words sparked something in her, a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't done yet. She wasn't just going to sit back and enjoy the success they had earned. She was going to keep pushing, keep striving, and keep proving that she belonged here, not just because of the mogul's trust, but because she had earned it. Thank you, she said, her voice steady. For everything. The mogul gave her a small smile, the first truly warm one she had seen from him in a long time. No need to thank me, he said. You've already done more than enough. Now, let's see where we can take this next. With that, he turned and walked out of the office, leaving Lily standing there, alone but not afraid. She was ready for whatever came next. The mogul had given her the chance to change her life, but now, it was up to her to take it to the next level, not only through the professional world, but also through her own self-discovery. He had given her the chance to succeed, to prove herself, and most importantly, to build a future for herself and her family. Over the past year, she had taken on new responsibilities, earned the respect of her colleagues, and played a key role in transforming the company into one that supported both large corporations and small businesses. It was an unexpected twist, helping startups grow and thrive, but it was exactly the change the mogul had needed. And it had worked. The company was thriving once again, not just because of its wealth, but because it was making a real difference in the world. Lily smiled to herself. It was more than she could have ever dreamed of. As the sound of footsteps approached her office, Lily turned to see the mogul standing in the doorway. He looked as sharp as ever, but there was something different about him today. His usual air of cold authority was replaced by something warmer, a sense of appreciation that Lily had never seen before. Lily, he said, his voice calm and steady. I've been thinking about how far you've come, how much you've done for this company, and I wanted to tell you that I'm proud of you. Lily was caught off guard. The mogul had never been one for displays of emotion, and hearing those words from him was a moment she would never forget. Thank you, she replied, her voice quiet but sincere. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. He nodded, taking a step into her office. No, he said. You did it because you were willing to take risks, to challenge yourself and others. That's what makes you different. You didn't wait for the world to hand you an opportunity. You created your own. Lily felt a lump form in her throat. The mogul, the man who had once seen her as nothing more than a maid's daughter, was now acknowledging her for her strength, her drive, and her determination. It was a moment of recognition that meant more to her than any business success. You've shown me a lot about what real success looks like, he continued, his eyes meeting hers. And I think you're ready for the next step. Lily's heart skipped a beat. She had heard those words before, but this time, they carried a deeper meaning. The next step? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I want to offer you a permanent position on the executive team, he said. Not just as an intern, but as someone who will help shape the future of this company. Lily's eyes widened. She had worked so hard to get to this point, but she never imagined this moment would come so soon. Are you sure I'm ready? She asked, her doubts creeping in. The mogul smiled. I've watched you grow. I know you're ready. You've earned it. As the days passed and the news spread throughout the company, Lily felt a mixture of excitement and disbelief. She had worked hard for this moment, but now that it was here, it felt almost surreal. She wasn't just a maid's daughter anymore. She was a businesswoman, a leader, someone who had earned her place in the world. The transition wasn't easy. There were still moments of doubt, of fear, and of imposter syndrome. But with each challenge she faced, Lily reminded herself of how far she had come and how much she still had to give. The Mogul had given her the opportunity of a lifetime, but it was up to her to take it and run with it. And she did. With every decision, every challenge, and every step forward, Lily proved to herself that she was more than capable. She wasn't defined by her past or by the limitations others had placed on her. She was defined by her actions, her perseverance, and her willingness to fight for the life she had always dreamed of. The Mogul had changed her life, but it was up to Lily to continue writing her own story. And with each chapter, she knew that she was only just getting started.